What's up, guys? Nostal-Gi-Oh here, back with another Master Duel video, and today we're going to be talking about Swordsoul, the Swordsoul deck, the newest archetype to be added into the Master Duel video game. Now, this deck I think is really good, and it's going to take a lot. It's going to be like a lot of different builds in the upcoming days. I'm going to have a lot of different builds for this deck in the upcoming days. There's a lot of different avenues of play that this deck can go down. We have the basic like Tenyi Swordsoul, which this build is, and then we have more like crazy kind of off the wall builds with like Danglong that are going to start surfacing really soon that I'm going to be looking at more builds in general. And then there's the Hulk Swordsoul version with the like more combos. You play more things to continue playing after getting stopped, like E-Tellies and Ghost Ogres are put in that deck a lot of the time. A lot of different things like that. And then you also have DPE, which is the Fusion Destiny, the Anaconda stuff that you can do with the deck. Your deck gets stopped, and then you make Anaconda, and then you send DPE. So there's a lot of different ways this deck can be played, and this is the most generic, the most like expected version of the deck. So that's what we made for today. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. Like, comment, subscribe. You guys know the vibes at this point. Anyway, let's get into it. So I only played 6 hand traps, 3 Maxi and 3 Ash. This could definitely change. You could play droplets, you could play more hand traps, anything like that. But I just wanted to max out on the Tenyi cards and the Swordsoul cards. In fact, I maxed on every card. That shouldn't be in here. That was an accident. I just was clicking. I was getting happy. We'll play 3 circle instead. Yeah, that's it for the hand traps. No, not really a lot of go second cards, but you can definitely play more. Effect Veiler could be good in here because, you know, with the Tenyi cards, you just summon Ashna or, Vishuda. You can normal summon Effect Veiler and make Chi-Shao. So, you know, at bare minimum, you have some form of combo with that hand trap. So, yeah, if you add in hand traps, Effect Veiler could be added. Ghost Spell, Ogre, if you're playing E-Telly, stuff like that. Anyway, that's all those. Now let's talk about the Tenyi and Swordsoul cards, the cards you actually care about, right? So we'll talk about Swordsoul first. So first off, 3 Swordsoul Moye. This card is insane. It's the main starter. If you don't know what the Swordsoul cards do, they essentially just like spam out synchros while getting a second effect when they synchro. So Swordsoul Moye, what it does is when it's normal or special summon, you can reveal a Swordsoul card or a worm in your hand, and then special level 4 tune your token. And then when it's synchroed with, you draw a card. So the typical play is normal summon Moye, reveal a worm or a Swordsoul card, special the token, make synchro summon Chi-Shao, Swordsoul Grandmaster Chi-Shao. Whenever this card is synchro summon, you can add a Swordsoul card from your hand to your hand from your deck, which is pretty crazy. And what it does is, and then you draw a card from the Moye. So essentially, like normal summon Moye becomes search a Swordsoul card and draw a card, which is pretty good. And a lot of the time you search Blackout, which is just an Icarus attack. So it's pretty good. And then the next card we play is Taiye, which has the similar effect of summoning a token. However, you get to this effect by once per turn banish a Swordsoul from your or worm, a Swordsoul card or 1 worm from your graveyard, summon the token. And then when this one's synchroed with, you can Foolish Burial a worm or a Swordsoul card. So a lot of the time you send yourself, you know, an Ashna, a Vishuda, an Adhara, something like that. However, you can also send something like, like Longyan, and then you banish the Longyan, and then you can add it back with Adhara. That's like something you can do like on the follow-up play with the Taiye, or if you like open Vessel, you can send the Longyan, search Taiye, summon Taiye, banish the Longyan, and do that with Adhara. That's another way to do it. So yeah, that is the Swordsoul cards. Those are the main 2. Then we have Longyan, which is an interesting card. You can banish or you can discard 1 Swordsoul card or a different worm from your hand, special summon this card, and summon a token. And then when it's synchro summoned with, you burn for 1200. But this is just essentially, you know, discard to summon itself, and then you make a 10, which can be Baron. It can be Qingying. This card's very strong as well. Or Ready Rose on the follow-up turn. And then they also have a new Swordsoul, level 10 synchro. It's not out yet in Master Duel, but it's very good. But I'm not going to worry you with what that card does and everything, because, you know. And then the last, Swordsoul-esque card we have is 3 Ecclesia the Virtuous. Incredible Ecclesia the Virtuous. If you don't know what this card does, it's essentially a Cyber Dragon. If your opponent controls more monsters than you, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is very good. And then its a quick effect is tribute itself to special summon a Swordsoul from the deck. So, essentially you're playing 6 normal summon Moyes. When you're going first, Moye and Ecclesia can both turn into Moye, which is really good, which is a main, thing you do with the deck. It's very strong. So yeah, that is the Swordsoul core. It's just a, summon synchro. It's pretty good. Then we've, to accompany this, we play the Tenyi cards, which are really good going second, and also very powerful extenders, that are not really like extenders, they're like starters, but like not really starters, they're more like extenders. It's weird, they're weird. But essentially they're just free bodies that come down to the field and then have effects if you have, vanilla monsters on the field, and they have a link 1 that's a vanilla. So you can special summon a Ashuna, link it into the monk, and then banish the Ashuna, special summon a Tenyi card, and then continue playing. So that can be cool. Do, keep in mind that this card locks you to Worm, so when you do that. Anyway, all these Tenyi cards are essentially Cyber Dragon cards that don't require your opponent to have any monsters. They just require you to have no monsters that aren't vanilla on the field to special summon. So we're playing 2 Adhara, 3 Vishuddha, and 3 Ashna. These cards are just really powerful for that, exact circumstance. You special summon the Ashuna, you can link it off, and then you can special summon another monster from the deck, and that's very, very good. These cards are also all worms, which means they all work with the Swordsoul cards very, very efficiently, and it's just a good time. In general, just good time. They also all have very powerful second effects if you have a vanilla on the field, which also the token from these Swordsoul cards do count. Adhara is you can banish it from the grave or hand to add back a banished worm monster, so that's where it kind of comes into play with the Swordsoul Longyon if you're using Vessel as a starter, things like that. Then you have Ashna, whose second effect is banish itself to special summon a Tenyi from your deck, and then Vishuddha's is bounce a card on the field by banishing itself from the field or from the grave or the hand. So all these cards are really good. They're really good going second because you can just special summon Vishuddha, link it into Monk, bounce a card, which is very good. Instantly interrupt, stop an interruption, get it off the field. It's very good. And yeah, they're just like extenders that you can like set up on turn 1, which is pretty good. Yeah, and then the last monster we're going to be talking about is Arch Nemesis Protoss. And if you don't know what this card is, get accustomed to this card being in the meta because it is a very, very impactful card in the meta. Cannot be normal summon set, must first be special summoned by banishing 3 monsters with different attributes from your graveyard or face up on the field, which is very, very easy to accomplish for this deck because every card is a different type. So it's very, very easy. Or attribute is what I meant. And then it has an effect, cannot be destroyed by card effects, which is pretty stupid. And then you can declare 1 monster attribute on the field and then destroy all monsters on the field with that attribute, also until the end of the next turn. Neither player can special summon a monster with that attribute. So, usually the typical play is just Blind Call Dark. It doesn't pop itself and it just stays there. And then your opponent cannot special summon dark monsters, which is really good against a lot of decks. Like a lot of decks. You play against PK, oh, you instantly lose the game. So goodbye PK stonks. This deck is too impactful to not be worried about this deck. So PK is going to have a little bit of a hard time going second against this deck, and really any deck that summons dark monsters will have a hard time with this deck. But yeah, Protoss is a pretty insane card. You can also very easily set up almost any attribute in the game. Very, very easily. You play against, Tri-Brigades. Wind, baby. You play against Tri-Brigades. Oh, Earth, baby. Wait, where's the Earth? I know there's an Earth guy. We can make this very, very accessible. Oh, where's the Earth guy? I know there's an Earth guy. Oh, Monk. Duh. That's what it is. Monk the Tenyi. So it's very, very simple to set up almost any attribute with this card, which means you can lock your opponent out very easily. Now, another thing that I'm going to make a video on this separately because we're going to talk about it in the Hulk Swordsoul version, which is probably going to go up tomorrow or the next day or something. But there's a play that makes Cyframe Omega that banishes itself and a card from your opponent's hand, giving you knowledge of what deck they're playing, and then you play Protoss accordingly. So like that's kind of gonna be, I think, the scariest build of this deck right off rip. But this is the most basic, just to get you guys accustomed to Swordsoul cards. But yeah, Protoss is crazy. Now, onto the spells. We play 3 Vessel for the Dragon Cyclone. Now, this could probably change. This is very powerful in the Hulk Swordsoul version, like the combo build. But without playing, like, the Hulk combo, this card's much less powerful. So this might not even, like, stay at 3 in this build. But just, like, accustomed to Swordsoul nowadays, me with TCG player brain, this card is exceptional. It's Foolish Burial, and then you can add a Tenyi monster from your deck with a different name if you control a non-effect monster. So the typical line of play is special summon Ashna or Vishuddha, link into the Monk of Tenyi, activate Vessel, send a different name, search Adhara, special Adhara, then make the Hauki Fibrax. However, we're not playing Hauki Fibrax, so this card is much less powerful in that regard. And this card, I think, might not even actually stay in this build. But for now, we're playing 3. Next, we played 3 Sword Soul Emergence. This card is just Rhoda for Sword Soul monsters. And then it also, if you control a Synchro monster, you can search any Worm monster instead, which means this can effectively Rhoda a Arch Nemesis Protoss if you control a Synchro, which is pretty stupid. And the main thing that this card is really going to be doing, and this is searchable through Chi-Xiao, which is searchable, or which is summonable through Moye or Incredible Ecclesia. So it's very easy to access Protoss in this deck. Next, we played 1 Sacred Summit. This card also is a Monster Reborn, essentially, for the archetype, which is also, once again, searchable by Chi-Xiao, which is really cool. This card is really, really good. And if you use Taiye as, like, your starter, you can go Taiye, make the Chi-Xiao, send something with the Taiye, search this with the Chi-Xiao, and then you can activate this. So a common, like, play there is, like, Taiye, send Moye, search the Sacred Summit, special summon the Moye, and then Moye into like Baxia, and then you have Adhara in the graveyard, or Ashna special summon the Adhara, and then Adhara and Baxia turn into Chaofeng, and that's a pretty common thing that we can do. So in Sacred Summit allows that to happen. I don't have any replays today, sorry, but we'll have replays soon. We'll have replays very soon, trust me. Next, we played 3 Circle. This card's just really good in the deck. It's another card that can search Protoss. The main thing here with Heavenly Dragon Circle is that, so what this card does is a quick play spell, tribute a worm monster, add 1 worm from your deck to your hand, and then if you tributed a non-effect monster, you can special summon it instead. That's really what it does. And then it has a grave effect during your main phase. If you control a non-effect monster, you can banish this from the grave and add a Tenyi card from your deck to your hand. So it's really good. It's search, and then the next turn it's follow-up as well, so it's really good in that regard as well. However, really the crazy thing about this is you go normal summon Moye, your opponent goes Imperm on it. Now you chain the circle, tribute this, you still get the token, and then what you search with it is the Shitana, which I actually didn't even talk about. This card, it's really only for this. However, then this is a level 4 that you can then special summon because you only control Vanilla, the 1 tuner. And then you can still make Chi-Xiao search Blackout, or make Chi-Xiao search the Longyan, which is pretty cool. So that really just allows this card to get through Imperm and Effect Veiler and cards like that, which is really good. We played 2 Called By, because it's Called By, like, what do you want me to say? And then we played 1 Blackout. This card is Icarus Attack. It's searchable through Chi-Xiao, and it's just a good card. Insane. Also, if this card is banished, you can special summon a Swordsoul token. So a lot of the time you can go like Taiye, banish this on the follow-up turn. Then you'll get 2 tokens, which if you already have something like Shatana, or you have just like something in general, you have things, then you can get, it's like another thing on the board, which is kind of cool. So that's a main deck. It's definitely subject to change. However, for now, I'm pretty happy with this build. I think Vessels probably is the only card that I'm like, maybe not. Maybe just like cut those for Effect Veilers or something, right? Like something basic, or Droplets, anything like that. Anyway, into the extra deck, we have 1 Yazi. This card is really good and really only accessible through the Emergence. However, in the Hulk Swordsoul build, it's very easy to access that card. We're not playing that build though. Anyway, what this card does, so this card, Emergence, whenever it's banished, you can increase or decrease the level of a Swordsoul monster or worm monster you control. So you can, summon Taiye, banish the Emergence, lower its level by 1, and then sink for Yazi, which is pretty crazy. But this card is insane. It's a Scrap Dragon, and then when it dies, you can special a worm from your deck. So a pretty standard play you can do is on the follow-up turn, or just like start with Emergence, you can go activate Emergence, like going second. So say you're going second, right, and your opponent has interruptions, or they don't have interruptions, you go Emergence, add Taiye, banishes the Emergence, you lower your level by 1, then you make Yazi, you pop Yazi and a card on their field, and then Yazi summons out Moye from your deck. Moye is going to reveal a guy, make another 8, now you're going to make like Chi-Xiao or Draco Berserker and punch a lot, or Baxia and spin cards. It's like crazy. So Yazi is an incredible card, really only doable with Emergence. In this build, however, in the Hulk Sword build, you make it a lot. We play 1 Crimson Blighter. This card's actually really solid, I think, in this meta. It's pretty good against a lot of random decks. It's good against the Tenyi deck. It's good against the Mirror. Stop them from the Tenyi cards. If you're like being able to like floodgate your opponent out is like a really ridiculous thing. And we have like cards like Protoss and Crimson Blighter, and that can really make it like difficult for your opponent to play. I think as far as like generic 8s go, Crimson Blighter is like a really worthwhile card. Next, we have 2 Baxia. I like 2 in this build. It's not once per turn. Well, it is technically a soft once per turn per copy. However, you can make a Baxia and then make another Baxia in the same turn and just spin entire fields. It's crazy. But not only that, this card can also like continue playing. So a lot of the time you make Baxia turn 1, send a guy, and then you Ashna special out the Adhara, and then you sync the Adhara and the Baxia together for Chaofeng, which is a light lock in that position. Chaofeng's really good. It also has another effect. Whenever a guy is destroyed by battle, you can special a guy from your deck with the same attribute. And then also, whenever it dies, you can search a tuner, which lets you get an Ash or an Ecclesia. So pretty crazy. So yeah, those cards are really good. Next, we played one Berserker. This card's just a really strong card, like going second or like on a follow-up turn. It's really easily accessible in this deck. It's just strong. It attacks over a monster and then gains the attack of that monster and can attack it again. So it's just really, really tall. And then it also has a Ghost Ogre effect where whenever your opponent activates a monster effect, you can banish it. Quick effect, once per turn. So that's really good. Then we played 2 Chi-Xiao. I think you only need 2. I don't think you need 3. That would be pretty crazy. But you definitely should play 2. This card's like the main, you do it a lot. We played 1 Rowdy Rose. I think this card's actually really valuable in this current meta. It's good against the PK deck. It's pretty good against the Tri-Brigade deck. It's pretty good against Virtual World because it gets rid of their Qinglongs and stuff for follow-up. It's good against Drytron. It gets rid of all their names for follow-up. This card's just really good. It banishes the whole graveyard if you don't know. Like, that's an insane effect. And then also, it's big. 3,200 tall guy. He's really big. Next we play 1 Baron. You could play 2 if you wanted. Honestly, like, you could definitely consider 2. And without the Quickshank Longyan guy, the new level 10, you make this almost every turn 1 going first. So this card's pretty good. And we played 1 Qing Ying. This card's really strong. So if you don't know what this card does, it has like 4 effects. So first off, it gains 100 attack and defense for every banished card and makes your opponent lose 100 attack and defense, all their monsters. So that's insane. And then if it would be destroyed by a card effect, you can banish 1 card in your graveyard instead. And then if a card is banished, you can banish a card from both of your opponent's field and graveyard non-targeting. That's 3 insane effects. Like, that's so insane. And you can set this up with Snow with a Shooting Riser Dragon, and then you have like a book plus banish, a book plus IDP essentially. It's insane. It's honestly just insane. Then next we played 3 Monk of the Tenyi. I think 3 is right with this card. You use 1 almost every turn 1. You use 1 every turn 2. Games can go long enough to use 3. I think you should play 3 unless you're playing the Hulk build. Then you can cut it to 2, maybe even 1, but probably 2. Then we played 1 Shaman. And that's the last card in the extra deck. This card didn't come up that much. Excuse me. But it does come up sometimes. And that's really it. That's really the deck. I'm sorry I don't have any replays today, but like I said, we're going to have replays soon. I'm still playing my... No. Okay, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. What do you guys think about the Swordsoul deck and just the whole new update in general? Are you playing with DPE? Are you playing the Hulk Swordsoul build? Hulk Swordsoul build tomorrow, probably coming. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. Have a good day. Goodbye.